Let's talk about what I'm here to talk about. And if it's Friday morning, you know I'm talking about Thursday Night Football. And if I'm talking about Thursday Night Football, you probably know it's not a good thing. All right, so the question going into last night's game was, how good are the Baltimore Ravens? It's something I did touch on the NFL Today on CBS. How good are the Baltimore Ravens? That was the question going into last night's game. Like, are they Super Bowl good? Because the fact is, they were 6-2. They easily could have been 7-1, handled their business last night in South Florida, and then they're tied for the best record in the AFC, and then they've got a great look at that lone bye in the AFC. So they're all important, but even if they're going up against a clubber or a tomato can or a scrub, there are no locks, so they're all important. There are no locks. There is no such thing as a lock, especially in the NFL. But I figured Ravens v. Dolphins was the lock of the week. If there's no such thing as a lock, that is the closest thing to a lock. I mean, that's a no-brainer. I felt really good about the outcome of that game. Then again, I knew the Ravens were good coming in. The question was, how good? And now the question coming out of last night's game was, the hell was that? The hell was that? A team that is allegedly the AFC's best just got curb stomped by a 2-win Dolphin squad. The hell was that? That 22-10 score does not begin to do justice to all the garbage that the Ravens just put on tape.
Garbage.
It was that bad. It was that embarrassing. And I'm not even sure what was worse, how Baltimore played or the fact that I had to watch it start to finish. And as always, if they didn't pay me to watch that game, I absolutely would have found something better to do, because everything else was better than having to sit through that garbage.
Garbage.
Life is bleeping short. And those are 3 hours of my precious life, my masterpiece life that I will never get back. Because that was the epitome of garbage Thursday night football. Yes, I know what we're getting on Thursday. I know what we signed up for. I know we get a bunch of guys who want nothing to do with that game. They really have no business even trying to play that game. I know that, and I know inevitably they're going to play like that. I get it. I know this. But that was so much worse than any of that. Again, if I had a different job and a different career, man, I flipped that bullcrap off at halftime. It's 6-3. I'd go hang out with my family, read a book, get in a workout, anything other than watching that abomination. Hey, don't get it twisted now. I do have the best job in the world. But for 3 hours last night, it felt like the worst job in the world. It was just so typical that the only good thing about that game was ripped from us. And if you were brave enough, tough enough, courageous enough, or you had action to watch the entire game, you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Miami offensive lineman Robert Hunt attempting to go legend. My dude, Ross Tucker. This is why I love Ross Tucker. He nailed that. He absolutely nailed that call, and everything he said about that was accurate and true and fair and right. I mean, that was not just a fat guy touchdown. There are fat guy touchdowns, and then there are what that was, a big, athletic man touchdown. Did you see him once he got the ball in his hands? Did you see him in the open field? Big fella is a YAC machine. He looked like Barry Sanders if Barry Sanders got crossed with a Mack truck. He looked like John Elway helicoptering on the goal line. My man's out here dropping moves, blowing past defenders, lowering his shoulder, and taking on multiple defenders and diving for the end zone. It was freaking brilliant. And I'm not the only one who thinks so. No less authority than Charles Woodson tweeted, quote, "Man, big fella, own that moment." That's the truth. And so is what Jarvis Landry tweeted. Jarvis Landry is still playing. Jarvis Landry is a big play guy. He tweeted, quote, "Play of the year," exclamation point. Hate to correct you, Juice, but correction. Play of a lifetime. Hey, yo, Robert. That's a touchdown in my book. Do not let the haters get you down because they've got nothing better to do than hate. They have nothing better to do than hate, and no one is better than you, big dog. Speaking of haters, don't get me wrong. I'm not crushing the Ravens for losing a game. I'm crushing them for losing that game and for how they lost that game. No Super Bowl contender can lose to a 2-win team and still call itself a Super Bowl contender. No Super Bowl contender can lose that game the way they lost that game and still call themselves a Super Bowl contender. Because Miami's defense kept blitzing them and Baltimore had absolutely no response. How many times do we hear over and over and over again? Such a well-coached football team. Such a great head coach. You know, I actually kind of believe it, sort of. Just not nearly as much after last night because there was no adjustment whatsoever. Miami, and by the way, Miami came in with a garbage defense. A garbage defense.
Garbage.
So what does Miami do? Man, they got nothing to lose. They're garbage, and they know they're garbage. So because they have nothing to lose, they send the house over and over and over again, and Baltimore does not do a damn thing about it. Miami came in with the 30th ranked defense in the league, but the Ravens made them look like the 85 Bears. A defense that was dead last in the league only a few weeks back. And they had a short week to get ready for Lamar Jackson. And they absolutely dominated that game. They just kept smashing the blitz button. And Baltimore just stood back and they took it passively over and over and over again. Miami sent 24 defensive back blitzes. That's the most by any team since 2015. And it worked damn near every time. Like, how does that happen? After about a baker's dozen even, worth of DB blitzes. Maybe you try to work something up to stop it. Maybe you try something different. But Baltimore couldn't, or they wouldn't, and they just stood there seeing Miami blitz and doing nothing about it. No response. 2 for 14 on third down against a defense that has not been able to get off the field all season long. Not even once. Baltimore had beaten Miami by average of more than 40 in their last 3 games. Yet they show up in prime time with everybody watching against a sorry Dolphins team, and they take an enormous dump in their pants. The coaches, the players, everybody. But it wasn't just the defense that blasted the Ravens. It was the fact that the Dolphins lost their starting quarterback, who's really their backup, and had to replace him with their starter, who was really their backup. And then that guy got hurt, and they still beat the Ravens. Like, Miami's made the last few months perfectly clear to anybody that they would happily kick Tua to the curb. And this guy comes off the bench with a jacked up digit and still manages to beat the so-called vaunted Ravens defense. Baltimore gave up 2 50-yard plays to a team that had not had a single 50-yard play all season long. Did you hear what I just said? They gave up 2 50-yard plays to a team that didn't have one all season long. Understandably, John Harbaugh was not happy that they all took a collective dump in their pants. Man, that was bad. Not all on him. Glad that he owned it, but anybody in Ravens gear last night had something to do with that collective dump in their pants because nobody had a single answer. They go down to Miami. They puke all over themselves. They take an enormous dump in their pants.
You have a big dump in your pants.
And then they leave it there, and then they get on the airplane, and they fly back. And I thought that my last flight smelled badly. If it sounds like I'm pissed and that I'm taking it personally, it's because I'm pissed and I'm taking it personally. Like, what did they do to you, Rome? They made me watch the entire game. And a part of me did die last night. A part of me died watching that game. And during that game, while a part of me died, there were a couple of moments where I wish all of me died. Yes, I'm pissed. I'll get over it. I'm resilient that way. I bounce back. But right now, in this very moment, I am pissed.